2022 and we wish you a very happy new year. And to start off, we've got India taking on South Africa at Johannesburg. That's the first test match for India in the new year. And to mark this occasion, to mark the new year, I have with me my partner at Nishad, Sachin Bajaj, joining. And of course, we've got Omar Henry, the former South African cricketer, joining us from South Africa. Omar, a big warm welcome once again. And to all our viewers in South Africa and to everyone in South Africa, we wish you a very, very happy new year.
Thank you very much, and we really appreciate it, and the same to you guys there.
Right. So what we saw at the end of the year was that the Indian team beat South Africa at Centurion. Centurion has been a fortress for South Africa. In the lead up to the test match, they had played 26 tests at the venue and only lost twice. This is only the third time that South Africa have lost a test at Centurion, and it's the first time India have won a test match there. Now the caravan moves to Johannesburg, a venue where India have never lost. They've played 5 test matches, and it's one of those rare venues overseas where India have never lost. So, Omar, that tells you something, isn't it? It's quite interesting that India have never lost at Johannesburg going back to 1992.
Yes, it's very interesting. I mean, some people won't believe it if you tell them that, because it's possibly a venue whereby the ball bounces and it's much quicker. The ball comes to you much quicker because of the high altitude. So you would have thought, how did India manage not to lose there and rather win there and have all that success there? But be that as it may, it sets up the test series so nicely now that India has won at SuperSport Park. And the series depending now on Wanderers, actually, because Newlands could easily be a drawn test match if we play 5 days in Johannesburg at the Wanderers. So that will definitely be a result.
Absolutely. And Sachin, coming over to you, as Omar said, it's really interesting because there's a lot of pace and bounce there that we've seen at Joburg. 2 test matches, in fact, India have won there. So now, what are your thoughts heading into this test match, especially considering that India have breached a fortress of sorts at Centurion?
I think it'll be our best chance to win a series. The players will be fired up. You've got momentum on your side. And this is a rare occasion where Cape Town is not the New Year's test match. Normally, Cape Town is traditionally the New Year's test match. This time it's in Joburg, and the old hospitality of friends like the late Robin Jackman and Gwen Johnson, who always looked after people in that part of the world. It's got a lot of history, Cape Town, but right now our focus is going to be still in the Transvaal, or what they call Gauteng now. And a big season for us to win. Momentum with us. Let's see how we go. Yeah. And if Dwayne Olivier is fit, I think we'll have an additional problem to deal with.
Now, Omar, one of the biggest news ahead of this test match is the retirement of Quinton de Kock. It took everyone by surprise, and because obviously he's rated very highly in India as well, and he's really great to watch from a fan's perspective. What are the thoughts in the South African cricket community around his decision? He was expected to anyway miss a couple of games because of the birth of his child. And who do we expect? Do we expect Ryan Rickleton coming in, or Kyle Verreynne, if I'm pronouncing it right? That is, please correct me if I got that right. But what are the thoughts in general, and who do you see replacing Quinton de Kock in the Whites?
Look, I think the media statement prior to this test match was that Quinton de Kock will miss the last 2 test matches. That in itself was a concern for the cricketing public in South Africa, who knew that our batting is more or less dependent on Quinton de Kock's performances lower down and trying to take the game away from the opposition. So he was a vital cog in our batting. Then the surprise came immediately after the test match. And I think the cricket fraternity in South Africa is still in shock. We still don't know how to deal with it, because in all formats, Quinton de Kock was a key player for South Africa. He was taken straight out of SA under 19 with Rabada, straight into the national team. They were going to build South Africa's future around the two of them, and they did very well from the very first time they played for South Africa. And they made an impact in world cricket immediately. So to lose him now for Test cricket when South Africa needs him at most in terms of his experience, in terms of the quality he brings, etc. Like I said, we're still in shock. Be that as it may, there is a youngster or even two youngsters sitting in the wings. The one is Calvin Rain and the other one is Rickleton. Now, both of them has played very, very good cricket domestically. Carl has played a few games for South Africa.
Yes.
There's a school of thought that he should have played with Quinton and took the gloves, and Quinton then strengthened the batting and bat higher up and Carl can bat lower down, whichever way. Be that as it may, it's not the case. So it's now a case of him proving to South Africa, Kyle, in this case, that he's the one. But there's another guy, Rickleton, like I said, in the wings. So maybe South Africa will have to think very deeply about their future in Test cricket. Do they carry on the way the batting order is? Do they change the batting order? Same players without Quinton? Or do they bring in more youngsters? And how do they then structure their batting order and bowl for the future while the bowling strength is still very much competitive? Those are the questions they need to ask themselves and then deal with whatever answers they come up with.
Sachin, as far as India are concerned, not many questions there. They should in all likelihood possibly retain the same side, maybe go in with the same combination. But a big news obviously is that KL Rahul has been given a vote of confidence by being named captain of the ODI team. Great performance by him there. So how do you see the Indian team shaping up for this test match? And if there is a change in conditions, would you possibly bring in, say, an Umesh Yadav for more pace instead of a Shardul Thakur?
No, I think you won a test match overseas in a ground like Centurion. I think we'll go totally unchanged into the next game. Very rarely do you change a winning combination. So I think another opportunity for Pujara to get his form back, which I reckon he will. As I'd say, form is temporary, class is permanent. He will score, I reckon. And KL Rahul's appointments is a succession planning a step forward, because I reckon when Kohli decides to give up his Test captaincy and Rohit in time, because they're both getting on in age in their mid-30s, I think succession planning has been made, and I reckon KL Rahul will lead India. It's a matter of time before he leads us in all three formats of the game. So I think it's a step in the right direction.
Right. Omar, there are a few players in South Africa who caught the eye in the first test. It's not all doom and gloom. In India, a lot is being spoken about Keegan Peterson because he looked really good. He looks really technically sound, and when he plays, he's really elegant. And we hope he gets a big score, because you need players like him in Test cricket, not just for South Africa, but for the world. So what are the areas that South Africa will focus on heading into the next test? Because obviously, possibly it was only day one that cost them the test match.
Look, it happened so that I know Keegan Peterson very well. I was the CEO at Boland Cricket when he was in our school structures. And somebody came to me one day and mentioned to me that I need to have a look at this player. And when I saw him the first time in the nets, I was convinced he was destined to play for South Africa. I then made sure that he played in a selected selected Boland 11 against Surrey Academy, who consisted of Pope and the Curran brothers. And he top scored against them in that game. And it was the first time he represented Boland ever. And he was man of the match. And from there onwards, his journey just accelerated. He has scored big hundreds in domestic cricket, first class. He knows how to score hundreds in domestic cricket. All he needs is to settle in Test cricket, and given the time and the support on how to make big scores in Test cricket when you face 5 or 4 good quality bowlers. You can see when he started, he looked so compact. He looked stylish. He plays the ball late. He looks calm. There's no fear. So that tells me that he belongs there. It's a case of understanding that it is not domestic cricket. You just got to play yourself in longer, especially on a pitch like Super Sport, where the ball had your number. It was just a case of when. So you needed to stay in that stage of this grafting all the time, the way he started. And I think that penny will drop with him now that he was out almost in a similar vein in the second innings, starting to get loose. So that in itself is a lesson for the majority of our top order, because the Indian bowling was so disciplined. They were at them ball after ball after ball. And I remember in our first podcast, I said that every session will be an event, and it was an event. It plays out differently every time, but whoever was really disciplined and smarter and had the skills, that team came out on top. South Africa came back in their second spell after the first day, when they had a poor day at SuperSport Park, and then showed that they can bowl and take wickets. Unfortunately for them, the test match was over because the Indian top line batters have set the groundwork and the foundation, and India could then, with their bowling, just destroy South Africa eventually.
And considering Duan Olivier, he was left out for various reasons, for his fitness, etc. Marco Jansen was preferred, youngster, took his time settling in. Johannesburg, possibly different conditions, maybe a little bit quicker, possibly. Would you bring in Duan Olivier in place of Jansen?
Not for me, not in place of Jansen.
Okay.
I'll play him in place of Mulder.
Okay.
Jansen, to me, showed enough for me that he belongs there. He is your future. He brings you the variation. He's got everything you require, right? He's tall, his left arm, and he can bat.
He can. Yes.
He looked more calmer with a bat than Mulder to me. And he showed that he can play. So I would run with him for what he brings to the table, and rather pick Duan in the place of Mulder. All right? The other conundrum is, do you play Maharaj? Right? Maharaj struggled because the Indians used their feet very well, and they scored possibly too many runs against him in the first innings to keep India quiet and just give the seamers a rest. And that didn't help South Africa. So they now have to sit. Do they play him, or do they want to bring in an extra batter and then let those 10 or 15 overs being bowled by Markram and Dean Alga? That could be a possibility, right? Time will tell, But it is all challenges for South Africa because their batting is not so strong. So they will have to think of ways how they can create depth in their batting and make sure that because they're going to miss Quinton. There's no two ways about it.
That's right. So it's interesting. So what you suggest is possibly a Duan coming in place of a Mulder and the spinner Keshav Maharaj possibly being replaced by a batter, so that sort of strengthens the batting in turn, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Sachin, the big talk in India also has been Virat Kohli. You've mentioned that you expect a big score from him soon, and he looks good. It doesn't look like he's struggling, but he just seems to play that one odd ball outside the off stump and he gets out. Now, that is something, it's again something that has really troubled his fans, and of which there are many of them. So, can we finally expect him to come good? Yeah, Joburg, he nearly scored 2 centuries during the trip in 2013.
He'll definitely come good. A bit, might have got a short selection wrong the odd time, but he is our best batsman by a mile. And as they say, form is temporary, class is permanent. And I think Virat will come good in this series. Like I reckon Pujara and Rane will also.
You mentioned Rane, but he did look good in the first innings, right, Sachin? I think there were signs
I
of
think
that.
he's getting it back. And I have full confidence. These are our three senior batsmen, and it's good that they stay in and the youngsters build around them and learn from them experience-wise.
And Omar, from the South African perspective, you'll continue to attack Virat Kohli outside the off stump and wait for him to edge that one?
Well, definitely, because that is at the moment a weakness, and South Africa needs to really do a lot more, especially on the first innings. With the ball, if they lose the toss and India decided to bat first, or they will have to, if they bat first, irrespective of whether they bat second either, they need to get more than 300. Right now, you cannot win a test match scoring less than 300, 350 for that matter. So South Africa's batting is going to be challenged, and it needs to improve very, very quickly. The bowling has made the cardinal sin of bowling the wrong lengths on the first day, and the Indian top order batters looked so comfortable, and they played so well on that first day and laid the foundation superbly for India. So there's a bit of work to be done. Like I said in the first podcast, South Africa will come back harder and give it their utmost. They showed a little bit of character in the second innings with the bat. Unfortunately, the Indian persistence in terms of their disciplines just showed how good a quality bowling attack they are. What I loved was, the last 2 wickets when Ashwin came on to bowl. And I watched him, and I did see him flighting the ball a little bit more, something that I possibly missed. I'm speaking under correction. I never saw him in South Africa giving it that much air. And then I saw him the last 2 wickets that he took. It was brilliant. He gave it a little bit more air. He saw that Rabada loves to drive the ball. The ball bounced. He let the ball bounce just on a good length, but it looked like a hard volley to be driven. And Rabada got caught at backward point. Beautiful. Then the very next ball, same thing. And Ngidi came forward. It spun. It bounced. Caught short leg. Game over. Now, to me, it just tells me the added value and how much. Here's a guy, what old is he now? 35?
Yeah, he is, yes, he's 35.
And at 35, he could still come on and learn and prove that he is capable of bowling and taking wickets on any pitches. on any pitch. So it's just, it was fantastic to see how the Indian bowlers really bowled and adjusted to how that wicket changed day after day, session after session.
And finally, heading into Johannesburg, in recent times, how has the pitch been like, and what do you expect from South Africa if they are to bounce back? And is it still advantage India?
It's advantage bowling.
Okay.
In domestic cricket, in the 4-day cricket, not many visiting teams scored 300 in 4-day cricket at the Wanderers. Johan Wellafi took 20 odd wickets in 4 games up there.
Oh, wow.
And they haven't lost a game up there. So the bowlers of the Lions have dominated. The spinner of the Lions team bowled the least of the overs and took the least of the wickets. The 4 seamers took most wickets.
So we expect a complete pace attack, and it'll make sense for Olivier to come in, considering what you're telling me, the kind of wickets he's taken.
Absolutely.
And South Africa, batting-wise, also led by Dean Elgar, need to show the same character that they showed in the second innings.
Well, definitely. I said again in the first podcast, Dean Elgar, Markram, Rassie, Temba, and now there's no Quinton. So the 4 of them will have to take the responsibility and score the bulk of the runs. Whenever the 4 of them bat together, they need to bat time at the crease, and a very, very long time at the crease. They cannot afford for Elgar to come out on 70 odd. They cannot afford for Bavuma to get out on 50 odd. It is a cardinal sin for me in terms of batsmen to do all the hard work, and then when you set yourself up to get a big 100, you then get out. Yes. That is a cardinal sin. You cannot expect that from a senior player. I expect that from a youngster who's inexperienced, who haven't had Test cricket under his belt. But when senior Test batsman does that, I cannot accept it.
Sachin, your thoughts heading into Joburg, advantage India, or, depending on whoever bowls well, and South Africa managed to get one back?
See, I think it is advantage India, but South Africa have a very good pathway system, very well run by Vinny Barnes. I'm sure we'll get to see a couple of interesting players coming through the ranks in the next couple of Test matches. They have a very good pathway system. And I still remember guys like Simon Harmer and all have come through their pathway. Obviously, they've gone elsewhere and made their name, Conway, Wagner, the rest of them. So South Africa has a very strong cricket system. So whether it keeps developing players, it's like their rugby system. It's very strong, very solid, very stable. And I reckon we'll see some good young players coming through in the balanced 2 Test matches. Yes, it is advantage India, but never write the line off in their den yet.
Exactly. South Africa at home, always a tough opponent. And having said that, India would also remember what happened during a couple of landmark victories that they had in 2021. They won at Brisbane, and then they lost the next Test match at Chennai in home conditions against England. They won at Lords, and then they lost the next Test match at Headingley, where they were bowled out cheaply. So a few things for India to remember, that they want to maintain the intensity and head into this New Year's Test match, which we hope will be a good one, because it's not often that you've got a New Year's Test match in Joburg, which is India's happy hunting ground. But we want to see South Africa get back in, and a few players who are really worth watching and have caught the eye. There is a lot of talent coming through. Sachin spoke about the pathway system. Omar also told us a lot about what those players can deliver at the highest level, and we certainly hope to see that. So thank you everyone for joining us on Esports. You can like this video, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for all the updates as we continue to talk cricket and talk sport in general.